Subliminal message. You want to hear about history? I'm your bootleg professor. Stick around. Gentrification in Mexico City. What's going on? And are foreigners really to blame? I'm your bootleg history teacher, Mr. Schneebly. Let me holler at you real quick. I'm sure you've seen the news about the protests and the riots in Mexico City, about gentrification and about kicking out the gringos. And I know, foreign residents, higher purchasing power. That definitely does contribute to rising rents and displacement. But in this case, they are definitely not the root cause or one of the key driving factors. Their presence is just a visible symptom of deeper structural issues that have gone unaddressed for decades. So check this. Gentrification in Mexico City really results from a convergence of multiple microfactors. We're talking unequal access to dignified housing, scarcity of livable, well-connected neighborhoods, lopsided distribution of educational, cultural, and economic infrastructure, and also poor regional development planning across the metropolitan area of Mexico City. What the hell does that mean? That means that the vast majority of decent public services, jobs, universities, cultural hubs, and transportation infrastructure are concentrated in a handful of neighborhoods. In a metropolitan region of over 20 million people, this inevitably creates high pressure zones of demand. And that's definitely an unpopular factor, supply and demand, but that is a very real factor here. Meanwhile, in the surrounding areas, like in the state of Mexico, they're treated like dormitory cities, where the local governments can still reap the benefits of the transit fares, the taxes, the rents, while not investing in the infrastructure or creating livable spaces or even trying to create better local employment hubs. And that's one of the main issues here that doesn't get addressed, that there's no initiative to decentralize opportunity or make other parts of the valley truly viable alternatives. And in Mexico City, on the right side, you might hear arguments like you're not entitled to upper middle class living, but that misses the mark. Nobody's talking about entitlement here. What we're talking about is the right to basic infrastructure, clean water, reliable electricity, somewhat decent security, green spaces, sidewalks. If that's your argument and only a few select neighborhoods get to provide these few essentials, it only reinforces social stratification. For example, for many people, the idea of a high-speed train that could give you a 30-minute transit instead of a 3-hour transit to your job in Mexico City would be transformative. However, in an area where these initiatives can often be corrupted and underdeveloped, what can you expect? And people may jump to rent control, which may appear appealing in theory, but in Mexico it can be challenging. This would require a heavy amount of resources that would need to be dedicated to monitoring these sort of efforts. And in a country and an area where these resources can be often and very much often, more often than not, corrupted and stolen, what can we expect for these initiatives really to be effective? It opens the door for a black market or bribing officials, which becomes the norm here in Mexico, or is the norm, I should say. However, let's not get it twisted. Foreign presence isn't irrelevant. There are foreign companies like